All aboard your tech and games caboose. We have Sony launching 3 phones at Mobile World Congress, the Xperia 1, 10, and 10 Plus. So let's go over some of these very wide phones. So the Xperia 1 is their flagship phone, and this has a 4K HDR OLED display. So this is the world's first 4K OLED display. And this video is from Engadget. They did a cut of the Mobile World Congress live stream. So pretty good 21:9 CinemaWide, so you're gonna get good movie viewing stuff going on. So you'll be able to see them in their regular aspect ratio basically. And this is 1644 by 3840 pixels. So that's the resolution for the Xperia 1. And again, HDR OLED. And the other big thing here is the creator mode. So at 2029, we see creator mode. So this is going to give you some better color experiences. So one of the codes is BT2020. So you're going to again get better colors, contrast, and a lot of the other good movie viewing pleasures for this. And it also is coming with Netflix for 21:9 aspect ratio. So you can see the movies in their full wide view from your phone, and you won't have to get on an ultra wide monitor on your desktop or something. So pretty cool for Netflix doing that. And then past the displays, so the 10 and 10 Plus both have full HD displays, so they're not going to be 4K. So those are the big differences between displays. And then sound wise, we have Dolby Atmos on the Xperia 1, whereas the 10s have a little bit different audio, high-res audio DSEE with LDAC, so a little bit different audio experiences. The Xperia 1 has dual stereo speakers, so you're going to get that surroundy, Atmos-y, good audio with your Netflix experiences going on. And then the big thing about the display was, again, it's 21:9, so it's a little bit longer than other 18:9 phones. And it's going to give you some extra real estate to do multitasking. So you'll actually be able to have a little bit more room if you open up a YouTube video and you're trying to type something on the bottom. The keyboard would usually come up a little bit further into the screen and be a little bit difficult. So you probably have better multi-window experiences on this phone. And it also has a little AI feature kind of thing where it side senses, so you can pull out apps from the side, a little bit like Samsung, but a little more useful on a little bit of a taller phone going on here. So pretty crazy long 21:9 cinema wide phone. And then also, besides multitasking, we have the cameras. So the Xperia 1 has the triple camera setup. So there's 3 cameras that are all 12 megapixels. So then you'll get your regular main camera, and then you'll have an ultra wide, so you'll get a lot more viewing distance, viewing area, and then you have the 2x telephoto. So those are the 3 cameras on the Xperia 1 versus 2 cameras on the 10, which is a 13 megapixel and then a 5 megapixel bokeh effect, so it can blur backgrounds, just like the 10 can obviously, the 1. And then the 10 Plus has a little bit different dual camera setup. It's a 12 megapixel, and the 8 megapixel does 2x optical zoom. Then you also get some blurring effects going on with that. So those are the 3 camera spec wise. And then back to the Xperia 1, this camera, it does some pretty good. Here's the millimeter sizes for each phone, for each camera lens, but it's also going to be able to do some autofocusing. So the world's first eye autofocus. So it will be able to focus based on eyes basically and do up to 10 FPS AE tracking. So you're going to get some pretty quick snapshots going on. And better than ever, Dolby enhanced raw noise reduction. So it's going to do a lot better low light. It's going to be able to get more details and lights pulled out. And then the big thing about the camera is the Cinema Pro. So you're going to be able to record 21:9 videos in 4K HDR on the Xperia 1, and you'll still be able to record 4K 21:9 on the 10 and 10 Plus. I keep trying to call it S10. But anyways, you also have 8 different modes that you can do some cinematic-y stuff with. So you get a little bit of a warm view here and a stronger view. It looks like some bright, and then here's the different modes. So it looks like H.265, so the higher video codec. And then it looks like some other aspects going on, 64 gigs. So pretty good recording with the Xperia 1, the flagship phone. And past the cameras, we also have the Snapdragon 855 processor in the Xperia 1. And the other phones have a little bit different specs, but also real quick, we have Fortnite in 21:9 aspect ratio. So you'll be able to game with a little bit of an advantage, being able to possibly see around some corners you couldn't before on your phone. So pretty interesting there. Some other games supporting that as well, 21:9. But specs, let's jump into the specs. So the Xperia 1, the flagship, has a Snapdragon 855 versus the 10, which has a Snapdragon 630, and the 10 Plus has a 636. So a little bit better processor on the 10, but the Xperia 1 has a flagship processor. So we have that, and then battery wise, we have let's check out the specs for the Xperia 1. It's a 3330 milliamp hour battery on the Xperia 1 versus the 10's 2870, so a little bit smaller. And then in the middle is a 3000 on the 10 Plus. So a little bit different there. And then the Xperia 1 has 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage with an SD card slot so you can expand. The 10 has a 3 gigs of RAM. They don't mention the actual storage, but it has an SD card as well. And then the Plus has 4 gigs of RAM and also an SD card. So those are your basic specs. You can check out some of the other little details here. 8 megapixel front cameras. It looks like they all have 8 megapixel front camera. So that is good there. So good selfies going on. And also, what other specs do we have? Price, let's go over some price. So these phones are the 10 and 10 Plus are releasing February 25th, which is today. And the price for the 10 is $350, and that is US pricing from Best Buy, and it's coming a little bit later in different markets. So March 18th for the US it looks like, and then the 10 Plus, we don't have an exact date, but it's looking like $430. And the Xperia 1 is coming late spring, so mid 2019, and we don't have a price for that, but it's going to be a flagship price, probably $600 to $1,000. It's a 4K OLED display, so pretty premium of a display, the world's first. And so that is the specs basically. So which is going to be the best phone? Obviously the flagship Xperia 1. It's going to have the 6.5 inch screen, similar to the 10 Plus 6.5 inch screen, but it's 4K on the 1. And then it's going to have the triple camera setup, so the ultra wide all the way to telephoto, and then the extra creator modes for recording and getting that better color reproduction going on. And then the 10s are just mid-range phones. You're going to get a lot better pricing, and you're going to still be able to have the 21:9 aspect ratio display, but with full HD instead of 4K, and at $350 to $430 difference in pricing for the 10 models. So 3 pretty good phones from Sony. Pretty interesting if you want that little bit more screen real estate. And there's a little bit of a bonus at the end here is a 4th phone they actually are announcing today is the Xperia L3. So this is a little bit more of a budget phone. It's the smallest screen of them all, 5.7 inch, and it's just HD, so around 720p, not quite full HD. And it's more of a traditional 18:9 mobile aspect ratio, so you're not going to get super wide, that little bit extra. And camera wise, it's got a 13 megapixel and a 2 megapixel on the back, so you can be able to do a little bit of blurring, and a 3300 milliamp hour battery. So it's going to be a little bit more battery oriented compared to the other couple. And I believe it was a MediaTek Helio P22 MT6762 chipset, if you're curious about the processor for that. And that again is being launched in select areas February 25th, and we don't have an exact date, but 300 or less. I'm random guess going on here, but a lot of different phones from Sony, and that's 4 different phones and a lot going on. So with that, we will be signing out and have some more Mobile World Congress coming up tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific. Pew 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 pew.